Okay, I want to take a minute to look at some of the things on ActiveGrade when you get your reports sent out to you. Also, to understand that on a typical week, you will receive reports on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Monday and Wednesday, there will not be an actual grade attached to it. All you will see are the scores. And the reason for that is because we are not focusing on an accumulation of points. We're focusing just on the current level of understanding. So if the skill is being taught for the first time at the beginning of the week, we have a starting place. The score might be low, like these two are lower, but by the end of the week, that score might be higher. So I don't want to attach the grade at the beginning of the week because then people start panicking because the grade might be low and then people worry. We don't want to focus on the grade. We want to focus just on their current level of understanding. On Friday, however, there will be a grade attached to it because at that point in time, they should have had time throughout the week to improve on that skill. So when you log in, and right now you don't have logins because I'm just pushing out the emails to you, but in another week here I'll allow the login portion to be opened up. As long as you keep in mind at the beginning of the week the students are still beginning to understand the skill, and please don't get mad at your child if they have a C or D at the beginning of the week because that grade will change as soon as they show understanding, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So we're looking at a fake account. We're looking at myself, Karen Sorensen, and currently it says that I have these scores. So what this means is that I have 3 skills that have been assessed. In a traditional grade book, you wouldn't look at skills, you would just look at every time they got scored on something. And we're taking away the looking at how we're doing on individual assignments and looking at the skill itself, not did I get 50% of the material right, but what level of understanding do I have? So you really kind of got to lose the mindset of adding up a bunch of scores. So if we look at this, SCI method is a skill, and you get the information telling you in each weekly report what it looks like at each level, okay, for a 2, a 3, and a 4. So SCI method is currently at a 3.5, scientific communications at 2.5, and physical chemical changes are at 2.5s. So when I click on this, I'll move my box here for a second and let you see what's in there. It'll tell you that there were 2 individual assessments. There was one taken on 8:15 and there was one taken at 9:04. And then you're able to actually look at those comments. So this says Karen has improved her skill, and this one may not say anything, but it'll usually tell you what the kid needs to work on. Okay, so it will tell you how many times we've assessed that skill. If we look at the scientific communication, we've only assessed it once. So it's a beginning point. It's the first time they're assessing on it. It's their first attempt at showing me what they know, and maybe they only have beginning level knowledge. Same thing for the physical and chemical changes. Okay, so right now this tells me I have a grade of a B-, and so I can click on my name and it's going to show me where I'm at. Green is good. Green is we are proficient, we're doing what we need to, now we just need to keep the student there. Yellow, it's kind of caution. It's that we're okay, but we need to improve. So the caution is don't be okay with it and just be satisfied, but focus on improving that score. If something were red, then that's warning, we got problems. We really, really need to work on this skill. So I want to take a second and look at the SCI method standard. And you get this sent out to you, and the kids see it at the beginning of the week. It's posted in my classroom. There are multiple places they see this. But what does it mean to be at a level 2? It tells you that at level 2, the student can define the various parts of the scientific method, independent variables, dependent variables, controls, etc. Vocabulary. They're doing a very basic skill. So it's not about completion to get points. It's about where are you at with this skill. So this is a beginning level skill, very much needed. It's just beginning level knowledge. Now, as we start getting to higher order thinking at a level 3, which is proficient, what we need the students to be able to do well all year long. Students can identify the independent and dependent variables, controls, and qualitative and quantitative data from a given experiment. This is very important in science, and so that's the level of proficiency that Mr. Young and I say this is what kids need to know to be successful in chemistry or advanced Sci-9, or what's that minimum, or not minimum level, but what's that level that we want all students to be able to walk out of here and do and be successful in this class. And then a 4, the expert. don't think that your kid's always going to be at the expert level, because some of it's just not probably going to happen right away, maybe in their level of understanding, or they may be focusing on other skills to get better. 4 is that they're doing it independently, they're doing it on their own, and they're really making connections everywhere they go with the skill instead of me saying you need to do this. So at a level 4 for SCI method, students can write, apply, perform a controlled scientific experiment with correctly graphing the independent and dependent variables from the experiment. So it's not me giving them a problem going, what's the independent variable? It's them going to the lab and going, okay, let's design an experiment. What's going to be our independent variable? What's our dependent variable? What do we need to look for? How would we graph this? That's a higher order thinking skill. That's why it's an expert level. Okay? So now you're asking yourself, well, how does my student get a grade? They get a grade based off of that level of understanding on all the skills. Instead of being able to have one skill they don't get and just rounding it out with average and points, they have to be proficient, or at least close to proficient, on all skills to be successful. And so this is the grading policy, and I just picked first period chemistry, but it's the same for all the classes. So in order to earn an A in the class, the student must have a minimum of 3 on all the standards. That means they are proficient at every one of the skills that we do the whole year, and they're able to retain that proficiency. Not memorize it for a test, pass it, and then 3 weeks later not have a clue what they were supposed to know. It is throughout the year you continue to show this skill at a proficient level. They have to have an average of 3.3 over all the standards. So what that means is they got 3s in everything, but some of those skills were above 3s. They were in that expert level that it's showing, hey, this kid's really doing A work. They have a true A level understanding of this knowledge in chemistry advanced NI. A minus, 3 minimum on everything, 3.2 average. Little difference, but it does make a big difference when you're looking at the skills that we use. B plus, a minimum of 2.8. Maybe they have that one skill that's really close to be proficient, but they just haven't got over the hump yet, but they're doing great everywhere else. They have 3 average on everything else. They're a B plus. B, a minimum of 2.5 over all the standards, 2.8 average. B minus is a 2.5 minimum and then a 2.5 average. C plus is a 2.3 minimum, so you're really developing that knowledge, and a 2.3 average. C, a 2. So you have some of those skills that are just developing. You're still trying to make those connections, but an average of 2.3. Your C minus, you're 1.5. You're beginning knowledge on a few skills. Average of 2. D plus is a 1 and 1.8. D is a 1 and 1.5. D minus is 1 and 1.3. Notice that for an F, a student would have anything below this, but any zeros. How does a kid get a 0? They never show me any evidence of learning over that skill. So if it's lab skills, scientific communication, and they don't ever turn in a lab report, they don't participate in the lab, they have a 0 in that skill. I have no evidence that they know something. They would have an F in the class until they showed evidence of that learning. And the last thing that I want to show you is what I mean by the grade changing very quickly, and why I'm trying to get the kids and parents both to not pay attention to the actual grade at the beginning of the week. This grade changes seriously in seconds because it's about your current level of understanding. So let's say the first time scientific communication took place, I had a 2.5. I was still making mistakes. Did not have the concept totally down. I was just developing. So here's my individual assessment. But I do it again. This time, I got a 3.5. I did great. I did awesome. I got it figured out. I fixed my mistakes. Notice my grade instantly changed. Okay? I still have the B because I have one of these skills that's still not at proficiency. So let's say couple weeks have passed, I get physical and chemical changes now, I know how to apply it, and I'm doing it at a high level. So I reassess, or I assess it again just in class because we're still doing it. I get a 3, so I'm at proficient. Notice right away I'm at an A. Okay, it's not an average in a points where typically you have to come back from one score that hurts you. This is as soon as I know it, show that I know it, and then my score reflects what I know. But like I said, that means the student has to retain that information throughout the year. They have to continually show that they know it, and so the current score stands. So if I memorized for this test, thought I was perfect, a couple weeks later, have to show I know it again, and I dropped, the new score sticks. okay? And so it really takes the students the thought process to say, okay, how do I learn this and not just do something to get by? Okay, that video was longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to try to cover as much as I could and answer as many questions as I could. Like I said earlier in the video, I will send out login information in probably another week. I really want to get you guys used to looking at what the emails say in terms of what does it take for my child to be at a 2, 3, or 4, and when's the next opportunity, where are the practice assessments, what kind of things can they do to get better. If we can focus on that, I promise the grade will come, because if the student is focusing on the learning, the grade's going to go up. That's the whole point. We want your kids to learn, you want your kids to learn, and we've got to really focus on how do we get them to learn it and really understand it. So like I said, give me about another week or so, and then I'll start pushing out the login information, and then you can look at this any day that you want, just like you would Infinite Campus. It's just right now, please just accept the 3 emails a week that you would get from me. If you have any further questions, you guys know how to get a hold of me. You can email me. You can text me. This kids have my number. Twitter, anything like that. You have multiple ways to get a hold of me. Please let me know if I can further help explain anything. Thank you.